How close are you following the Rangers in that rebuild and the fact that they've just been awarded the #1 draft pick coming up in the upcoming draft?
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing for the organization. Obviously, I think a little bit disappointed with the exit out of the qualifier, but rewarded pretty nicely with the first overall pick. And, throughout the year, obviously they're in a rebuild, but I think that rebuild definitely has been speeded up a bit with some of the emergence of the players and how well they played last year. So I think as a Ranger fan myself, being a former Ranger, I'm excited for their future. It's very, very bright. And, I don't think it's going to be a long rebuild like, some of these teams have to go through. It seems like it's accelerated pretty quickly. And with this first round pick, who knows? They're going to have a really good year next year.
Obviously, you look back at your time with the Rangers, with fond memories. I remember in 2015, obviously I was covering the team at the time, but it was the conference final. You were with the Lightning at the time, taking on the Rangers. And I'm sure at the time we talked about it, but as you reflect on that, that time, what were the emotions like for that series for you?
Yeah, very, very emotional. There's no secret. I loved my time in New York. I took a lot of pride in being the captain there. It's kind of where I grew up. And to go back, I think the most emotional was when I went back for the first game. I think was when it was the most emotional time for me, and realizing, that my time in New York was done, and seeing the fans and the appreciation I got when I went back meant so much to me. But that playoffs was so exciting in so many different ways, let alone the conference finals, going into a Game 7 into the Garden. I knew how good they were in Game 7s. I was part of some of those Game 7s in the Garden. And people ask me, that's probably my biggest victory, biggest win is being able to be on Garden ice and win that Game 7 and go to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in my career.
I'm pretty sure I was at one of those games in the Glass. One of my friends had called me and said, "Hey, so were you at the game?" I was like, "No." And they held up a picture of like the New York Post, and there I am in the background. I got thrown on the bus for one of those games. But you mentioned talking about being the captain for the Rangers. What was that feeling like when you put that jersey over for the first time, whether it was the press conference or during the game, when you had Callahan on the back and you had that big C right above your heart?
Yeah, it's hard to put in words your feelings when it's something that emotional or means that much to you, but just a tremendous amount of pride, and responsibility as well. Coming from where I came from growing up and, upstate New York, and seeing that C on an original 6 sweater, it's something that I took a ton of pride in, and and even thinking about it now puts a smile on my face, and it's probably one of the top highlights of my career.
And now paying it forward, you're doing a little bit of coaching yourself. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Bishop Kearney Selects, which is a high school prep program they started here in Rochester in my own backyard, asked me to join them and help out their first year. And they got all the top boys under 15, under 16, and under 14 from around the country coming in. And I'm going on the ice a couple times a week and just sharing my knowledge and trying to help these kids get to that next level. This game has given me so much and awarded me so much that it's only right for me to try to pass it on and see if I can help these kids get to where they want to be.
Callie, a lot of times NHL players, when they retire, you have all this cash in the bank, a lot of free time. You're a young guy, and you're still trying to find your way off the ice. A couple days ago, Michelle tried to give away my job to one of your boys, Dan Girardi, broadcasting. I've seen you dabble in the NHL Network. What was that experience like? Is it something you want to do maybe on a full-time basis?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it kind of happened. I wasn't planning on doing that when I was done, and they came to me, and I was still under contract with the Ottawa Senators at the time, so they were kind enough to let me go on it and see how I liked it, and I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It kept me in the game. I like talking about hockey. It's my passion, so I had a lot of fun with it. Hopefully I'll continue to do a little bit next year, but don't worry. I think your job's safe. You're pretty good at it.
I hope you're listening.
It's so funny, though, because you both now are on the other side. You're journalists now like me. And it's so funny, Callie. I'm curious, I guess for both of you, what's the transition like from being the one that, Callie, you were very gracious during your time with the Lightning doing those off-the-ice interviews with me, although sometimes you would beeline past me and not make eye contact because if you didn't do that. But what's it like now to be on this side of it?
And for me, it's definitely different. Like I said, I like sharing my knowledge and with the fans and things like that, but you remember that other side of it. And I remember beelining past you a couple times when you had a tough game or the team had a tough game. And, you can see that, the reporters are just trying to get some information out of you and for the fans and things like that. But it's touch and go. I mean, you do some interviews with guys and, they really probably don't want to be there doing them. And, not too long ago, I was in their shoes. So it's interesting. It's definitely a different approach.
I'd much rather be on this side than on the other side of like a scathing article from Larry Brooks. I'd love to get in on guys. Shout out to Brooks. He did a great job. He's a Hall of Famer. But the hardest part of our job, honestly, Michelle, is talking about a guy when he's struggling. Like, I couldn't wait to talk about Claude Giroux the other night when he scored a goal, had an assist, because we had the ISO cam on Claude Giroux. He had one goal, I think, in 26 postseason games. He was struggling. He's wearing the C. And Callahan and I both understand how hard it is to score in our league. Mm-hmm. But we'd also be, people wouldn't take us seriously if we didn't point out when guys were struggling. That's part of our job as being an analyst. So when guys are doing something well, I love to pump guys' tires. I mean, I love it. When he came out with a goal and assist and the Flyers won, I couldn't wait to get in the studio. Like, KT was like, okay, Ace, who we talking? I'm like, Claude Giroux, let's go. That's my guy.
No, that's you're right, and that's hard, and especially for me, just out of the game. I have so many buddies in the league right now. Even Rangers, and you talk about Tampa, and there's so much question marks going into the year with Tampa because they're our first round exit. Last year it's hard to be critical of guys when you're good buddies with them, but it's part of the job, and as a player, you understand that as well.
Yeah, and also just knowing what they've been through and to turn it around now, I can imagine that would be difficult at times. Ryan, we loved having you on. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please tell your dad that I'm in New York now, and I would love for him to send me some limoncello, and best to you and your family, okay?
Awesome, guys. It's really good to see you guys, and thank you for having me on.
And Cal, I could be looking for a new co-host for Around the NHL, so stay tuned.
Uh-oh.